I just want to tell all of you, I've received all of your emails thanking them and our other guests and yours truly for that program. And we appreciate it. We've heard you. And I never really thought about it, but it made sense to me, guys, when I read what they were saying, which was if they had to hear the terrible news, they preferred to hear it from people who actually knew Charlie and appreciated Charlie and loved Charlie and knew what he did, as opposed to like, what are you going to tune in CNN and listen to one of these people who's helped demonize him over the years tell you this stuff? It's just like another interesting piece of the media story, right? Like how much things have changed. And on the media story, I have to spend a minute on Karen Attiah. So this woman may or may not be familiar to our audience. She worked, I think at one point for the New York Times, but has been with the Washington Post for a long time. And I mentioned her right after 10/7 because she and I followed each other on X. And it was an interesting relationship because she's this lefty black woman at the Washington Post and I'm this righty white woman in the digital lane. But we followed each other and like I would like her posts with her cat. You know, like you kind of go to the safe ones, you know, or like it just, to me, it restored my sense of humanity. Like you can have this relationship with somebody. And she lost her mind after 10/7. She actually liked a tweet which read, "This is what decolonization looks like," as we were having Israeli babies murdered. And I couldn't believe, it was such a reveal, like mask off. And she and I got into it via DM. And I've never read this, but it's kind of crazy. I was just going back and looking at it. She's now tweeting about Charlie, which is where this is going. But she was basically saying it was a private like, and so what? And then she went off on Palestinians and so on and so forth. And I responded to her by writing, so now it's morphed from all I did was like a tweet to I liked it, but it was a private tweet to, or a private like, to I liked it, but only because I secretly didn't like it. Got it. Much clearer. And then she responded, and now you're probably hoping that one of your followers finds me, my address, and causes harm to me because of a like. Is that what you're after here?
She read your mind.
And my response was, calm down and stop playing the victim. And that was pretty much.
Are there private likes? I don't know about the private
like.
like.
No, there's no private like.
Just making sure.
There is no private like.
Missing that feature.
But now this woman, so we unfollowed each other. And that was the end of our weird little fake friendship. And now she's out there tweeting about Charlie. So she's been with a longtime columnist with the Washington Post. And she's now claiming that she was fired for her blue sky posts following Charlie's assassination and also the Minnesota lawmaker Melissa Hortman. The Post accused her of gross misconduct, unacceptable behavior, and endangering colleagues' safety. She rejects the charges as false, hasty, and a violation of journalistic fairness. Her posts on Blue Sky, for everyone saying political violence has no place in this country, remember 2 Democratic legislatures were shot in Minnesota just this year, and America shrugged and moved on. Part of what keeps America so violent is the insistence that people perform care, empty goodness, and absolution for white men who espouse hatred and violence. And she goes on, I don't care for empty rhetoric, because America, especially white America, is not going to do what it needs to get rid of guns in their country. Blah, blah, blah. Black women do not have the brain processing power to be taken seriously. She's quoting Charlie Kirk here. You have to go steal a white person's slot. And she is saying this is why she hated Charlie Kirk, which of course completely takes Charlie out of context. That was in response to, it was Ketanji Brown Jackson, and it was her being chosen on the U.S. Supreme Court and saying, and then what's her name came out, Sheila Jackson Lee came out and said, I was a diversity hire, I'm an affirmative action, and he was like, she openly admits that she's the following things. In any event, that's all a long wind up to your thoughts on Karen Attiah now officially getting fired by the Washington Post.
I don't like anyone being fired, and I care about the First Amendment, and it couldn't have happened to a nicer lady. She's representative of all these people around the country. Even if everything they're saying about Charlie were true, and in her case and others, it's not. The mentality of someone who would root for someone's death, to be so cavalier about it, it's really shaken me as much as anything that's happened since he was killed. I struggle to understand the mentality of someone like her who would do that. And there's a reckoning. The Washington Post would not have fired a liberal columnist for any reason 3 years ago. So this is part of now.
Not even for this is what decolonization looks like.
No, this is part of a different environment that exists at the Washington Post. I don't know that it exists at the New York Times yet, but we see this everywhere. We see it in corporate America. There's a new sheriff in town and a new mentality, and I think that the mentality of people doing this is now being met with the mentality saying, no, this is not acceptable. And I think, again, I don't like anyone being fired, but I think it's great that they cannot do this with impunity.
Mm-hmm. What do you make of all these professionals, Emily? I mean, like, I don't pay that much attention to the blue-hairs on Twitter or whatever, Blue Sky.
I was going to say, how did anyone know what Karen Attiah said if it was on Blue Sky?
I know, that's a good point. Because given her role, people were like, whoa, here she goes again. I mean, the 10-7 thing was bad enough, but now here she goes again. And there has been a rash of, like you say, pilots, like corporate pilots and doctors. One nurse who complained about a doctor who celebrated Charlie's assassination, she just got laid off. The nurse did for outing the doctor. But I mean, the joy at his assassination is so widespread, it's deeply unsettling.
Yeah, and what's interesting is the performative nature of it, too, that you would do this into a camera and then post it on the internet. It's not just feeling a moment of private joy, which is still reprehensible, but actually then sharing it. And part of me wonders if just the opportunity to share it is actually what makes people think that they should feel joy, because you can get likes and retweets for posting stuff like this on TikTok or wherever it is. And the fact that, I mean, I think we just all need to pause for a second and think about why a teacher of children would think that's okay. And from what I can tell, dozens of professionals, to your point, Megyn. I mean, there are people compiling databases that are, you have to like go through and verify and confirm it. I'm not a huge fan of, some of what I see looking like crackdown type stuff, but there needs to be shame. And there needs to be a pause and say, what in our cultural psychology right now is making so many people think it's rewarding to post that publicly, to celebrate stuff like that publicly? It was completely insane, and it's beyond just the reasonable spectrum of opinion on an editorial board of a newspaper. I mean, it's completely. We're talking about like doctors and nurses.
I genuinely don't get it. I don't get there are a lot of people on the left I can't stand. A lot of them, long list. Never in a million years would I celebrate something like this happening to them.
I want to add one more level of insanity to it. The Washington Post and New York Times this weekend wrote about these things, and their reproachfulness in the news stories was not about what people were writing. It was about people trying to call attention to it, and they're being fired. All of a sudden, after 2 decades of celebrating cancel culture, of having no hesitation to help people get fired, all of a sudden, it's like, how could people be identified as doing something wrong and be fired?
Accountability culture.
Yeah,
that's what they called it.
All of a sudden, and it's like no. These stories should be about what's wrong with America. That people who are teachers and doctors and pilots would say these things about a man who was just assassinated.
No, it makes me wonder, like, how can we have that teacher teaching a class full of students that may include kids from conservative families?
Yeah.
How can we have that pilot flying a plane that may include someone like me? Like, I don't want any of that. And I also just feel like I don't give a shit. A certain male gesture comes to mind when I hear them lamenting cancel culture. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I want to do. Like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, some of us have actually experienced cancel culture up close and personal in our face over talking about fucking Halloween costumes. And now they want me to feel bad that somebody gets fired because they cheered a political assassination of an innocent 31-year-old father of 2. I don't.
But they're saying this is ominous that our culture could head in this direction. Where were you for 20 years as our culture headed in this direction? It's just your friends weren't the targets back then.
Yes.
And the common thread is this inflation of a definition. So racism, if you can inflate the definition of racism, you can weaponize it. And that's what's going back to the Karen Attiah post. It's like, this is obviously in context. You're a journalist. Take some time to contextualize it. Read the full remarks. Don't just take a social media post. Like, that's insane. And honestly disqualifying. If I'm an editor at the Washington Post in the first place, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing?
You're so careless.
This is insane. How did it make it into print? Like, that's also crazy. But because that wasn't just a Twitter post, that was in her column, wasn't it? Yeah. So that's crazy. But secondly, like, how do you even get to a point where, as a journalist, you aren't actually saying this is the argument at hand? You're taking it out of context. You are flattening it into something completely different and doing that in good faith. It's not. It's bad faith. It's either bad faith or incredibly stupid. But that's what's been happening over the last 10 years, as many on the left have either cheerleaded for that or stayed silent. And if you're right now concerned about cancel culture, join the club. Like, everyone's been on this bandwagon for 10 years outside of elite
By the way,
media.
you created the bandwagon.
Yeah.
You built it.
But that's what happens when you're broadening these definitions of racism, sexism, misogyny. You end up not hearing the nuance. And for Karen Attiah, she's not making the best argument. It's hurting her at the end of the day because she ends up making a stupid argument instead of one that actually would make sense.
She's like, well, now I'm free to say I'm going to be even more bold. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Literally, no one's going to watch that.
5 days ago when Charlie was alive, people like her, Adam Schiff, their whole orientation in life was MAGA's evil, Trump's a fascist. And I'd say, maybe for 10 hours after Charlie was assassinated, they were like, well, let's consider everything. It's all just back, right? They can't help but go back to their orientation of, they spent the weekend trying to say that this guy was super MAGA and that's why he killed Charlie. That
They
didn't
did.
stick.
They saw two white parents who were registered Republican.
Yeah.
He's not. The shooter's registered unaffiliated. And everybody from the Utah governor to the FBI to his friends and family say he'd been radicalized leftist. When inflation jumps, when you hear the national debt is over $37 trillion, do you ever think maybe now would be a good time to buy some gold? Well, you'd be right. Whether as a hedge against inflation, peace of mind during global instability, or just for sensible diversification, Birch Gold Group believes every American should own physical gold. And so they created something special. Until September 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, request an info kit right now. Just text MK to 989898. Plus, Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you're still eligible for a rebate in free metals of up to 10 grand. So make right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate up to $10,000 when you buy before September 30th. Text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility and get your free info kit. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.